كتاب الله دستوري وخير الخلق أسوتنا
بسنته انجلى نوري لهدي الحق أرشدنا.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We have our brother Abu Uthman. Abu Uthman, I want to ask you something that's been on my mind. It's about the university students.
University.
Yeah, university. Let's say I want to go to university, and I study a lot, and I try my best to pray, but I don't pray that much. But the time the test comes, I actually start praying even more, so I can ask Allah, to help me with my exams and stuff like that. So what do you think that, if I'm in a situation like that, do you think I'm in a good situation, bad situation, what's going to happen to me if I think this way?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Akhi, you raised a very good point, because the reason is because many of the students at university do exactly that which you just said right now. Deen is second, but school is first, and that's definitely a problem. School is very important. Your degree is very important, and we call upon all the youth to try to obtain a degree. Wallah, it is important, so you can help yourself and you can help your family, generally speaking. And plus, so that you can become a person who benefits other people with your wealth, akhi, because you don't want to be, as the Prophet ﷺ, he said the upper hand is better than the lower hand. The hand that gives better than the hand that takes. So help yourself first so you can help the community. But the problem is when you go overboard in university, and you say, university is every single thing that I have. But knowing that the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah tells you to pray 5 daily prayers. The Prophet ﷺ told us in the authentic hadith that there are 5 daily prayers: Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. If your studies are coming into these 5 daily prayers, then now you have a problem. If you just know the deen to be what? Right when I get into trouble, I go and I run towards the masjid and I pray my 2 rak'at and stuff like that. That's definitely a problem. You know what I mean? And this is something that many of the Muslims have been tried with, because they themselves, they don't have knowledge. They don't know that Allah is the one who created them. Allah is the one who sustains them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who will take care of them. And they because of course, akhi, singling out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single thing that you do is something very important, like a tawheed. They don't know what their religion.
So, I'm ignorant of the deen, but I'm very intellectual.
That's definitely a problem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, He says there are some people يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. They know the affairs of this dunya inside and out. وَهُمْ عَنِ الْآخِرَةِ هُمْ غَافِلُونَ. But when it comes to the hereafter, they're ghafil, they're heedless, akhi. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah tells us that these are not, generally speaking, they're not good people, akhi. You know what I mean? Not even generally speaking, they actually are not good people, because they only come to Allah just like whenever they need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's definitely a problem.
What if I do the bare minimum?
The bare minimum is the 5 pillars of Islam, akhi. Number 1, that you know a tawheed inside and out. Number 1. Number 2, the salah, that you establish the salah correctly, you pray like the way the Prophet ﷺ prayed, okay? And you pray your 5 daily prayers on and within the time frame that's allotted to you as a Muslim. Number 3, that you pay the zakah. Number 4, that you fast the month of Ramadan. Number 5, that you go to Hajj whenever you have the ability to do so. So akhi, these are the bare minimum of this religion. The 5, it's called the 5 pillars of Islam.
So another thing that,
but akhi, you know what it is? Allah then says about the other people, there are some people who say, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. They say to Allah, when they make dua, akhi, they say, oh Allah, give us the best of this dunya. Oh Allah, give us the best of the akhirah, and make us from those, and save us from the punishments of the hellfire. These people are good individuals. Why? Because they're trying to balance between the dunya and the akhirah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. We have made you a balanced nation. Subhanallah, you don't go too extreme into the dunya and leave your akhirah. You know what I mean? And you don't go too extreme into the akhirah and leave your dunya. You have to have, you have to have that balance. Exactly. Very important, akhi.
There's a lot of situations that happen in universities usually. It's like free mixing. You see a lot of you know,
yeah.
You gotta shake the professor's hand. They don't look like
generally speaking, you don't. Generally speaking, you don't.
So what am I gonna do if I'm in that situation?
First of all, generally speaking, you don't shake professor's hand. Generally speaking,
I'm saying, you know,
but it's true. There is free mixing there. But of course, there is free mixing there. But your job is you're only going there for the knowledge, akhi. Although some scholars did mention that it is not permissible for a person to go to these Western universities, but akhi, in the situation that we live in today here, it's almost, very difficult for a person. I mean, if he doesn't go to university or college, it's going to be very difficult for him to get at least a sustainable job for himself. Wallahi, because many places they'll ask you, do you have a university degree? What kind of degree do you have?
So you're basically saying university does hold some weight.
Of course.
So it's not just like it's not.
Of course. No, it's not worth it at all. Of course, you need to go through some sort of education system in order to sustain yourself, to provide for yourself, akhi. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, the upper hand is better than the lower hand, akhi. So if you want to have, generally speaking, if you want to have some comfort in your life, at least get some sort of degree, some sort of paper, so that at least you can work with this, you can have family and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Would I be extreme if I tell myself, I'm not going to university?
But make sure you have a substitute. Make sure you have something else you can fall back on. Let's say you want to be a businessman, for example. There's nothing wrong with that. But make sure that you know that there's going to be some struggles there. For sure, akhi. There's going to be some struggles there. Right. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean that I have to go to university. The only way I'm going to make money is if I go to university. So if you feel that's right for you, then go ahead, akhi. No problem. But what we're saying is, at university, you got to be very careful, akhi. Because you know why? You can slip away from the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because of that environment, the toxic environment, akhi, universities and colleges. But you need to have some friends who are going to remind you of Allah Azza wa Jalla.
In university, there's more groups like, MSA and stuff like that. I want to join these groups. I want to get myself, who practice, who tries to practice. But these are the only groups that's there.
MSAs are like
all these other groups, more just not
MSAs, the Muslim Student Association, the ISOCs.
So I can be closer, at least have some sort of deen aspect. Because university, they don't have a lot of stuff.
It's true. So they don't have a lot of where brotherhood and sisterhood and stuff like that. Many of what we see anyways with the MSAs and the ISOCs and all these things, I mean, subhanAllah, it's run by people who they themselves do not have knowledge of the religion. You know what I mean? And they're just general people, akhi, you know what I mean? So if, there's a lot of issues with the MSAs anyways. A lot of issues, akhi. But no organization, but one second, no organization is free from mistake. That's something that we have to know. But that's why it is important. If you know that there are some brothers who are upon the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and they could help you in and of itself and they're running the MSA correctly, then no problem, you can join it. But many of what we see is that the MSAs and the ISOCs are not really run correctly, akhi. You know what I mean? There's a lot of flaws. There's a lot of flaws in many places. There may be some exceptions to the rule, but many of them, akhi, but they're trying their best because they themselves do not know. They're ignorant, akhi. You have to understand that. They themselves, they don't know anything of their religion, and they're trying to be in places of position, and that's definitely a problem. But that is why it's a problem for those who are calling people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They themselves should educate these individuals. The blame is not only on the ISOCs and the MSAs, akhi. It's also on those people who are also running these these centers and these da'is and these du'at and whatnot. Okay. And Allah knows best. This is just my opinion, akhi. So it's just.
I understand. Okay, beyond that, let's say I want to get into other groups like people trying to be president of whatever sector they're trying to be president on, or trying to join a political group inside the university. Do volunteers, stuff like that inside the university. These other.
Yeah. Like for example, the engineer.
Would it be wrong for me if I join these, just this dunya
Akhi, but what kind of groups are they? There are some groups that are completely against Islam, of course, and you have other groups that are just like, for example, in the engineering faculty, you have groups who are actually, you know, like groups who benefit those in that specific faculty in and of itself. So, for example, a certain group would be this, another group in science, they would have their own type of group and stuff like that. Well, if you're going there in order to put it on your resume and you know that it's not going to conflict with your own deen of Allah Azza wa Jal, then no problem. But there are other groups, akhi, within the universities and the colleges. You know, they're called Sigma, what do they call? Sigma Phi and Beta or something like that. Akhi, this is in opposition to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a person should never join these groups. I'm telling you, these groups are dangerous, akhi. Yeah, these secret groups and subhanallah, taking bay'ah, taking pledge and all these things against the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. So people at university should beware of these groups, akhi, should beware. And I give you other groups, subhanallah, other groups at university, you know, free mixing, sisters, brothers, you know what I mean, everybody's just colliding within each other. That's also dangerous as well too. Very dangerous, because of course, we all went to university, akhi, you know what I mean? And we've seen this firsthand. It is not something that theory or whatever it may be. Be careful, because the most important thing is to make sure your deen is intact whilst you're in university at those times. And it is important for you to also, just the general advice for a person, to be connected to a student of knowledge. So you can ask him questions about, can I do this, can I do this, can I do this and not do this at university. Because you yourself, you don't know. If you don't have Allah, He says in the Quran, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. If you don't know, ask the people of knowledge. You know what I mean? So the local imam at the masjids, you can ask them. And they will help you navigate throughout exactly what you're trying to find, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. But the imam condition is imam who's on the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
And also the fitna of the school is, there's a lot of dorm parties.
Okay, yes. It's called Frosh Week. It's called Frosh Week.
Yes.
Yeah, and not only that, subhanallah, do not go to no Frosh Week parties. Akhi, because many of them have alcohol, many of them have haram. And another thing is, on the weekend, you know what they usually do? They usually have parties outside of the school or in the school, akhi, drinking, you know what I mean, doing all sorts of haram. The question is, what about if you were to die there in these parties? What about if Allah Azza wa Jal was to take your life away whilst you're in that party? You know what I mean? The shisha party, or it may be a party, drinking party, because everybody in the faculty is now going, right? Yeah. Be careful, do not go to these parties. Instead, use your time wisely and go to what? The masajid on the day of Friday, because they have programs or whatever it may be, or try to go and subscribe, put yourself into an Islamic program, a Quran class, so that you could, instead of going to the haram, try to change it to something that is halal, and that's going to benefit you in the akhirah. Yeah. So, akhi, man, people at university, akhi, they just gotta be careful, bro. Gotta be very, very, very careful at university. Because this time, because between 18 to 22 or 23 or 24, akhi, whatever age that you may be, 18, 24, let's say, from that age bracket, is the time that you're making real decisions in life, actually. Wallah, you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful. Make sure you pray your 5 daily prayers. Make sure you don't go to the musalla only for the time when it's the final examinations. Right. Make sure you ask Allah Azza wa Jal to help you throughout the school year. Seek some beneficial knowledge at university. And my advice for those who run the MSAs and those who run the ISOCs, my advice for them is try as much as you can to bring in more knowledge-based activities at university. Like, for example, a lecture upon, for example, the etiquettes of seeking knowledge, a lecture or a few lectures series on a book that you're going to be covering, like Kitab al-Salah, like Kitab al-Tawheed, like these certain books, and bring in the imams from their masajid and say, we have university students that can actually help. Because I'm telling you, hundreds of people will actually come alive. Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, Umirna, we were commanded to place everyone at their proper place. Umirna an nunazzil an-nas manazilahum. We were commanded to put everyone at its proper place. So know your own position.
Share, subscribe, and like our videos. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.